Yesterday I streamed, and today there's a voiceover. It's crazy, I know. Having time to do stuff. Wild. But today I thought it would be really important since I actually had like ideas for today's drawing rather than just doing it right before I had to draw. Like I came up with the idea of doing a night 2 days before doing it. Whoa! And then since it's on Christmas, Merry Christmas by the way, I decided to do like symbolism, but I didn't do of just Christmas. I ended up doing like Saturnalia and Yule, like older traditions. So like in the pauldrons on the night, I did 2 faces to represent Janus, which was the Roman god for Saturnalia, where he had 2 faces, like one on the front and back of his head. So that's what the pauldrons are for. I also end up doing a bit of green with like green cloth, and then some like of the undergarments for the armor is green, although it ends up being hard to see. And then I do little inlays or engravings in the armor that I tried to make look more plant-like, because it is the season of rebirth and stuff like that. I looked it up for like a couple minutes. Okay, give me some slack here. I also just really wanted to practice doing metal and armor, since I personally think plate armor looks really cool, but I very rarely do it. So, very good excuse to just practice it. I also tried to make the sword look like slightly like a pine tree at the very base of the blade. It kind of sort of turned out. I don't think you'd ever think that though without me telling you. But you know, I tried. And I end up doing like a wax covered candle helmet thing. Just because like, I don't know. I feel like candles are kind of symbolism for that time, and it was not for something like Hanukkah. That was not my goal. Even though the shape of it may be similar to some symbolism from that, but that was not my intention. I just wanted the older traditions from around that time. Yep, I'm out of talking points already. Something. The way I do metal is always super high contrast, lights and darks. So obviously, where I think the highlights are going to be unbelievably bright. In this case, I do like a almost white, yellowy orange. And I end up using a color dodge orange for the actual candle reflections themselves way later. And then I use a very dark blue in the dark areas, just because it would be the cool color from the metal reflecting onto each other. And I also use the same green that I use in that cloth to show a reflection of the cloth. I'm not sure how well that'll show up until a bit later, but I do try to do it. I tried to do a bit of the engravings on basically anywhere I thought the armor was boring. I did air quotes during that, you gotta believe me. Even though it may not be practical to have engravings like that, I think they look neat. And I don't care about practicality. I just care about how neat it looks. Couldn't you tell by the face pauldrons? Yeah, I'm out of rambling stuff. Right now I'm doing an engraving of sorta like a pine tree symbol. Not obviously 1-to-1, because that'd be a little ridiculous for an engraving. But I was thinking of like whatever order of knights this character would be a part of, maybe has that tree as a symbol. Man, not doing this in 2 months really makes it difficult. I'm just gonna start rambling. Please yell at me for the uhs. I'm not cutting them out. That's way out of my editing budget. My editing budget of sitting here and talking over the timelines as it happens. I don't know enough about armor to say like exactly what parts I'm working on other than like gauntlets and pauldrons and breastplate. But currently with the gauntlets, I'm just basically adding engravings wherever. Just because I feel like out of all the parts that would have engravings, those would have more intricate ones since they'd be seen by like the person wearing them the most. At least in my mind they would be. You're not really looking at much else on your body other than like your arms in front of you, typically. And I did use a reference for some of the armor. Just on Pinterest, I looked up knight armor. I did not use a reference for the like wax and the candles coming up. Maybe I should have. I probably should have. I think they turned out okay. Like here I'm adding that green undergarment that I talked about before. And I tried to figure out more symbolism to add in, but all the old symbolism stuff I looked up was just like the stuff I feel like we use now, where it's like mistletoe, wreaths, stuff like that. Like other than a Yule log, which I don't know how I would add a Yule log into this design, other than being really awkwardly held or something. So I didn't do that. Now here's where I'm adding the wax, which I am doing in a way where I like start with the darkest color and then build up lights on top of it, which is also how I've done water. Like that's how I did the water in Throne, which was a couple days ago, maybe a week ago. I don't remember. I'm not looking at it right now. But it's where I use like the darkest color I think I will use at all. In this case, like a really dark brown. And then I slowly build up on top of it with lighter and lighter colors. In this case, I didn't want to go too light because I still wanted to keep a really dim vibe and wanted the armor shine to stick out way more than this wax. And then I winged it. I tried to memorize when I did a candle creature, I don't know, like a couple months ago. Remember how I did that wax? This was different. I did not have nearly as much light shining through it. It was just more solid wax rather than real candle wax. Then I add the fires to it, so you know, yep, these are candles. And now with color dodge, I'm adding the same color of the fire into the armor. And now actually working on the cloth. Which honestly, it may sound weird, but I was most worried about doing this cloth, even though out of all the materials in this, I've done cloth by far the most. I think it might be partial Dunning-Kruger effect though, where I've done cloth enough to where I know I'm not that good at it, where I have done metal and wax so few times where I'm like, this is good enough. I mean, it's fine. It could be better, but it's fine. Should I have maybe just gone with a full set of armor with nothing being covered? Maybe. But I think adding in this giant splash of green is actually pretty beneficial. Adds something else for your eyes to look at. It also adds an extra bit of color that otherwise would be very, very lacking. Being just grays and browns, a little bit orange. But with the green, it becomes like a triad color scheme with that orange, blue, and green. I know, terminology, crazy. Totally planned, and not just because green is like the symbol of regrowth. And also one of the two Christmas colors of green and red. And at this point, I think I'm just adding more effects like color dodge for lighting. I end up adding more color dodge to the armor. I do a fog of that background, dark brown red color. I try to do something weird with the lights here. I ended up not liking it. And then I add random noise and a blur on like the legs, just to keep them out of focus, so you focus more on the candle head thing. Yep, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Goodbye. Bye. Okay, bye.